All right, guys, today is day 3 of transformations. Yay! So after today, there's only one more transformation to learn. So this is day 3. Today we are talking about rotations. Rotations. What do you think of when you hear the word rotation?
Turning.
Turning. So turning. All right, so this one's a little different than what we did in previous classes. Previous classes, we took the image and we translated it, reflected it, and then did the algebraic representation. Today, we're starting with the algebraic representation and using that to rotate our figure, okay? So there's 3 different rotations. First one is 90 degrees clockwise. So I wish people in, I don't know, people on Zoom if you can see me. But if I'm standing up and I rotate 90 degrees clockwise, well, do y'all know what clockwise is? Like the way a clock goes, right? So if I'm turning, I'm only turning like a quarter, one, right? If I'm going 180, that's 2 quarters, right? That's like a whole whatever. And then 360 would be all the way around. And then 270 is going like 3 quarters. So 90, 180, 270. Okay? So rotation, we're doing rotating 90 degrees clockwise, which is the same thing as 270 counterclockwise. Those are the same thing. 90 degrees counterclockwise is the same thing as 270 clockwise. And 180 clockwise is the same thing as 180 counterclockwise. Okay? All right. So those key words, the description words, rotation is a turn. Turn. I am turning a figure. I am turning a figure. So let's look at this first one. This is being rotated. Let's say that this one is the pre-image. Okay. Let's say this one's the pre-image. Okay. If I rotated it from pre-image to image 1 over, and it turned only once, how many degrees do you think that is? 90. So this would be 90 degrees. So basically, the quadrant it is in, if it goes to the next quadrant over, that's 90 degrees. But look on this one, let's just say this is A, B, C. Yes, this one would be 180 because I think I'm labeling it right. I might be labeling it wrong. No, this should say A prime. This should be A prime. This should be C prime. Okay. So this one, when I rotate it, it went 90 and then another 90. So this is 180. Okay. So each quadrant it moves. Alaire, are you with me? Each quadrant that you move is 90 degrees over. Okay. Does that make sense? So each quadrant is a 90-degree turn. Perfect. Okay, so let me go back to this first one. So this is 90 degrees clockwise. And it's the same thing as going 90, 180, 270 counterclockwise. So this is the same, those are the same thing. So usually the questions you're going to get is strictly the algebraic representation. And remember how I said it's really not even math, it's just memorization. It's literally just memorizing, okay? And so there's like tricks to try to help memorize it. And we can look at those tricks later, but today we're just going to learn the rules. All right, first one. We're going to rotate A, B, and C 90 degrees clockwise or 270 counterclockwise. So just a reminder, this is quadrant 1, good morning, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and then quadrant 4. Which quadrant should it end up in? if I'm going 90 degrees clockwise?
Number one.
1, because clockwise is this way, so it'll go 1 over this way. Yes. If it was going 270 counterclockwise, 90, 180, 270. So it should end up in quadrant 1. So let's start off with the algebraic representation. The rule for 90 degrees clockwise is y negative x. So write that down. Y negative x. This tells me to change the sign of x So the negative x, remember that does not mean x is negative. What that means is the sign changes. So change the sign of x, then flip x and y. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna change the sign of x, then flip x and y. Change the sign of x, then flip x and y. All right, so let's write down our order of pairs. Where is A? -7, 6. And again, to remind you, you do the x first, so it's at -7 on the x-axis and +6 on the y-axis. So -7, 6. Where's B? -5, 2. Perfect. It's at -5 on the x, +2 on the y. Where's C? -7, 2. Awesome. So it's at -7 on the x, +2 on the y. All right. The way we're going to do this is a little different. We're going to follow the rule first and then get our new coordinates. Okay? So it says, this rule says y negative x. We need to change the sign of x, then flip x and y. So on A, the x value is -7. So it's going to turn into what? +7. Then I'm going to flip x and y. So what will it be? All right, so let me restate this. So the x is going to change signs. So it's going to turn into +7, right? So then it's going to be +7, 6. Then I'm going to flip x and y. So when I flip it, it's going to turn into 6, 7. So my new ordered pair will be 6, 7. So looking at B, the rule is y negative x, meaning change the sign of x. So -5 will be +5, and then flip x and y to +5.
Okay, so then you would grab those points.
So on C, just for the recording, let me state it. We're going to change x, so -7 will be +7, and then we're going to flip x and y, so it will become 2, 7. Now that I have my image coordinates, I'm going to go plot my points. So A prime is at 6 on the x and +7 on the y. So this would be A prime. B prime is at 2, 5. So it'll be +2 on the x and +5 on the y. So here's B prime. C prime is at 2, 7. So +2 on the x, +7 on the y. So this is where C prime would be. And you should notice it did a literal turn on its side. The triangle, not only did it move to the next quadrant, it actually turned, right?
It does not preserve everything.
It does not preserve orientation. Good job, Esther. So it turned, but does it preserve congruence?
Yes.
Yes, it stayed exactly the same. The triangle's the same. It just turned around, right? When I rotate it, I didn't change my shape. It stayed the same. Okay, so it actually turned on its side in 90 degrees. So down here, it's just y negative x. So this is the rule. Whoa. Come on, chill, bro. All right, there it goes. Y negative x, okay? Now, you're like, so Ms. Patterson, what am I learning? This is what you have to memorize, this algebraic representation. So to be real, why do people miss these questions? Because they don't memorize the rule. So 90 degrees clockwise is y negative x. Okay. Questions? Okay, 2 more examples. So this is example number 2. We're gonna go 90 degrees counterclockwise.
It's gonna be the quadrant.
Perfect. Now we're gonna be in quadrant 3. So let me label my quadrants again just so for my recording. So this time, when I rotate it, it's gonna end up in quadrant 3 because I'm going 90 degrees counterclockwise. So I'm going to the left. So these are the same, the pre-image coordinates are the same as the last slide. So just write them back in. So negative 7, 6, negative 5, 2, and negative 7, 2. So to go 90 degrees counterclockwise, the rule is negative y comma x. Mm-hmm.
Can you also write an x negative y? Does that matter?
Like not flipping them? Wait, what do you mean?
Well, because oh, okay. So that would just mean that you're flipping them.
Like if you wrote x negative y, then that would be the rule for reflecting across the x-axis.
Okay.
So like
So,
each rule is like really specific. So this
so
one,
kind of that's just telling you that you have to remember to flip the x and y.
yes.
Okay.
So can you give me like 5 more minutes? So this is saying y changes signs. And I'm gonna flip x and y. So this is saying y changes signs, and we're gonna flip x and y.
So it's gonna be the opposite of the other example?
Mm-hmm, good. So here, I'm gonna change the sign of y, so 6 becomes negative 6, and then I'm gonna flip x and y.
Oh, is it negative 6?
Perfect, negative 6, negative 7. So that will be A prime,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
B,
Negative
2, negative 5.
yes.
5
No, say it again.
Negative 2, negative 5.
Yes.
Well,
So, yeah, okay, yeah, you were doing the first step. So yeah, so I'm gonna change the sign of y. So positive 2 becomes negative 2, then I'm gonna flip them. And so that will make negative 2, negative 5. And then C,
negative 2, negative 7.
mm-hmm. So change the sign of y, positive 2 will become negative 2, and then flip them, and that will become negative 2, negative 7. Okay. And then we're gonna graph it. So go ahead and plot those points.
So the negative from like the first, so negative 7 doesn't change. It's gonna be negative.
Mhm.
So the positive.
So negative 7 doesn't change because this x right here tells me it just stays the same. Not that it's positive, it just tells me it stays the same. Good question. So negative 7 will stay negative 7. because X is not affected when we rotate 90 degrees clockwise. So like on here, Y stayed the same. Our Y's didn't change. They all stayed positive because it just stayed the same. So A prime is at -6, -7. So here's A prime. B prime is at -2, -5. And then C prime is at -2, -7. So you should notice it literally turned 90 degrees counterclockwise and went to the next quadrant over. Okay, so what do you need to know? You need to memorize the rule, -YX. And like I said, I'll be real with you. This is my 5th year doing it. People don't memorize it. You have to like make note cards. You have to do this to really, really memorize these rules, okay? All right, last one. 180.
So it's gonna be
Perfect. So it should end up in quadrant 3 because going 180 either counterclockwise or 180 clockwise would be the same thing. So it should end up in quadrant 3. Let's write down the pre-image coordinates. Carolina, you good? About 3 more minutes. Okay. Where's A? 3, 7. B?
6, 7.
C?
5, 3.
D? All right. So I got my pre-image coordinates. A is at 3, 7, B is at 6, 7, C is at 5, 3, and D is at 2, 3. So when we rotate 180 clockwise or 180 counterclockwise, the rule is -X, -Y. This does not mean X and Y have to be negative. What it means is X and Y change signs. In this particular example, though, they're both going to be just end up negative.
But we don't have to.
But we do not have to flip them. So the only ones that we flip are 90 degrees. Perfect. Perfect. So A prime, Emily just told us, we just change the signs of X and Y. It'll just be -3, -7. Perfect. So all of these just become the opposite signs. So B prime is -6, -7. C prime is -5, -3. And D prime is -2, -3. So we did not have to flip X and Y. We only changed the signs. So, and think about it. Our figure should now end up upside down because we're rotating at 180 degrees. So let me plot A prime. A prime is at -3, -7. Here's A prime. B prime is at -6, -7. C prime is at -5, -3. And D prime is at -2, -3. Ooh, my drawing skills are not on point. Okay, there we go. So you should notice it literally turned all the way around because A and B were on top. Now A and B are on bottom. So it literally turned a whole 180. So you know that line that says, oh, they did a 180, right? That just means they turned all the way around. So the algebraic rule is -X, -Y. Again, is there some mathematical process to? No, it's just literally memorizing the rule. Okay. All right, almost done. Just gonna talk about congruence and orientation. But this class, on top of it, you have already discovered Oh, these are, if you want to screenshot this should say rotation. This should not say reflection. I messed up on this because I just copied the whole presentation from the old one. So this should say rotation. So cross that out and put rotation rules. So you can screenshot this or take a picture, whatever. These are the rotation rules.
Isn't it on? Yeah, it's on the.
Yeah, so y'all have it. I'm talking to kids on Zoom, yeah, or if you're watching the recording. All right, so let's go back to this. The figure preserves congruence. Yes, it stayed the same. Nothing changed. It just turned around. If I'm turning in circles, my body's not changing. I'm staying exactly the same. Okay, so it preserves congruence. But if I'm turning, I do not preserve orientation. My position is different, right? If I go 180, I'm upside down. If I go 90 degrees, I'm on my side. Okay, so it does not preserve orientation. So the only one that has preserved orientation, do y'all remember? Which is the only one that preserved orientation? Translation, because if I slide something, it stays the same. It doesn't flip, turn, or anything like that. All right, these 3 questions, and then we're done. Are you good? Okay. If A is at -2, 4, and it was rotated 90 degrees clockwise, what would be the coordinate for A prime? So before you answer, remember you need to know your rule. The rule was y -x. So try to figure it out beforehand. And then someone on Zoom, could you tell me what you think? Anyone on Zoom? A prime, you got it? Anyone want to go for it?
-4. Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to see if anyone on Zoom wanted to go. All right, so 90 degrees clockwise, X changes sign. So -2 is going to become what? Then I'm going to flip X and Y. So it's going to be 4, 2. Okay. So don't think of it like, don't think it has to look exactly like this. This is telling you what to do. X changes signs, flip X and Y. All right, I'm gonna call out someone on Zoom for number 2, okay? So get ready. If point B is at -5, -6, and it was rotated 270 clockwise, 270 clockwise is the same thing as 90 degrees counterclockwise, and the rule is -yx. What would be the coordinate for B prime? So everyone get what you think it is. Zoom zooms. I'm about to call on one of you. Don't leave. Don't worry. Don't leave. It's okay. Anyone on Zoom want to volunteer, or you want me to just call on you? Any volunteers? Trip, what about you?
So you'd flip them, right? Flip the -5 and -6.
First, we would change the sign of Y and then flip them.
Oh yeah, change sign of Y and then flip, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be you change the -6 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
So then it'd be 6 -5.
Perfect. Yes. So change the sign and then flip them. Awesome. All right. Then the last one. If C is at -8, 4 and I rotate it 180 counterclockwise, remember the rule is -x, -y. What would be the coordinate for C prime? I'm gonna let you think about it. Remember, this is saying X and Y both change signs. So what did you say? They said -8, -4. Okay, yes. So -8 becomes +8 and +4 becomes -4. So yes, this will be C prime. Good job, guys. Do I have any questions?